Welcome back, everybody, to another PHDJ episode with my man, Mike Walter.
What's going on there, Joe? How are you?
What's up, brother?
Are we pointing now?
We're pointing because we're recording this, and I'm Joe Bunn, of course, and we're back again, another episode. As always, thank you guys for listening.
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it, and the feedback has been great.
Feedback's been really good, guys. We appreciate it. I'm still amazed though, Mike. Like yesterday, somebody started that thread on one of the DJ forums. Does anybody out there do wedding DJ podcasting?
Yeah,
and I'm like, what did I write? I wrote, are we that bad at marketing this thing?
Well, you can't get out to everybody, you know. Believe it or not, there were some people who didn't watch the Super Bowl this week. So
that's true.
There's a good example for you, you know.
A much bigger scale.
Yes.
So kind of left the listeners hanging on.
I know we had a cliffhanger last week. It was kind of, well, you can't be bringing up like major topics on the we were literally signing off, and you're like, oh, hey, let me just ask a throwaway question. Like, no, this is episode worthy.
It's bigger than a throwaway question. I think I was so heated still about it that I didn't. I think
you were, yeah.
I still am. But
so maybe after a week of calming down, no, you're still pretty fired up.
I don't know. No, I've calmed down a little bit.
All right.
But
why don't you take us through the scenario again, just in case people aren't listening to this right after the last episode,
or maybe they cut us off before the end.
Yeah. Or maybe they've actually had a life between last week and this week, and they don't exactly remember where. You know, you and I live for this moment.
That's true.
Week to week, I think of nothing else from the time we sign off to the time. But our listeners might not be that devoted. So paint the scenario for us one more time.
So at the end of the podcast episode last week, I asked Mike, if a DJ came to you to work and he had come from another company in your area where you knew the owner of that company, so he divulged that, hey, I came from XXX Entertainment, you know, not really happy there, want to make moves over to Elite Entertainment, would Mike reach out to that owner and see what the issue was?
Right. So you asked that question, but really what you want to know is if the scenario was reversed, would I expect a phone call from the other owner? Because that's the position you were in.
I'd like to know both. I'd like to know both.
So not only would I make that phone call, but I would tell the guy right up front, or gal, or whoever it is that's interviewed. I would say, A, are you currently working for that company? And B, if you are, you and I will not even talk until you have left that company. I will not entertain somebody who is still currently working for another company.
Nice.
And that's usually met with like, oh, well, why not? And I'm like, well, just, you know, I wouldn't chat with a woman at a bar if she was married. You know what I mean? It's just not, I don't do that. So that usually kills the conversation right there. And then if he says, oh, yeah, no, I've left them and blah, blah, blah. Well, why'd you leave them? And then, yes, I would definitely reach out to that original business owner and say, hey, so-and-so wants to interview with me. Before I do that, A, I want to make sure you're cool with it because I don't want to start World War III. And B, could you tell me what your experience was with that person and why they're no longer with you?
Regardless of your relationship with that person, correct?
You know what? I do have some not so great relationships with people in my market. So no, I guess if it was with somebody who my relationship wasn't that great, then maybe I wouldn't bother making that phone call.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, for me, I felt the exact same way. And, you know, the scenario for me was I saw this guy that we had let go recently, which, man, it's been years since I had let a guy go. And he was still new. It wasn't what I call a soldier by any means. Just wasn't working out. Didn't fit the mold, whatever. I don't want to get into it on here, but didn't do anything crazy. You know, didn't steal from me or, you know, not show up for a gig or anything like that.
Do you remember why you let him go?
Yeah, but I don't want to say on here. I mean, just...
We haven't said the guy's name.
That's true.
Is it that... I mean...
No, I mean...
Be vague about it. Was it a performance-based thing? Was it a professionalism thing? Was it strictly a numbers thing? You weren't getting them enough work? Like,
I think it's performance and personality and inability to mold with the rest of the group.
Okay. So he was an untalented scumbag is what you're basically saying.
Definitely not a scumbag.
I'm kidding. That's a joke. No. Okay. But he just didn't fit in with the Bunn
No.
family, and so you let him go.
So we were we were doing a wedding show couple weeks ago, and it's in a hotel. You know, it's in this old hotel in Chapel Hill, and it's kind of staggered. Like it's not a you know, like at a convention center. It's not a big room with all the pipe and drape. It's literally like this ballroom might have 2 DJs, 2 wedding planners, 2 photographers, you know, and so on and so forth. Big hotel, stretches. And so I guess he had never been in the place because he comes wandering into our room, and we're all like, yeah, we were like, what is this dude doing here? Like,
what's he doing here?
Yeah. And then he was like, oh, I'm looking for so-and-so. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, man. I was like, I think he's down in, you know, ballroom C or whatever. So it didn't bother me again, because I had let him go a few weeks ago. And so a couple days later, it was like, it bothered me so little that, oh, I know what I was doing. I was on the way to film the new DVD that I'm putting out, this Hiring the Music. And I guess
that was smooth, by the way. Nice way to work that plug in. Very nice.
Available soon at
very organic.
And so I text the owner of the company. I go, hey, man, you know, I fired that dude, right? I said, I just want to make sure he told you that. And he goes, his first response was, took you long enough. And then I'm like, okay, I don't like the way this, I don't like.
What did he mean by that? Took you long enough to contact him, or took you long enough to fire the dude?
To say, yeah, to contact me, because it had been Sunday to Tuesday. And
right.
I was like, okay. And I go, well, I don't know what that means. Again, this is via text, so it's, you know, things can get out of control quickly. It's like, you know, I don't really know what to say. And he goes, okay, I'll bite. What did he do? And so now I'm really getting like, all right, this guy's being a dick. Like, well, man, you know, nothing really. Just, you're going to have to, you got a lot of work to do. Just, you know, just be aware that you've got work to do. And I'd had a good relationship with this guy for a while. I mean, I've been to lunch with him. So then I guess, you know, it kind of starts getting heated back and forth. And so then I'm like, all right, I got to load this gear in, set this stuff up. So,
and when you say heated back and forth, this is via text?
Right. So then I'm like, so hold on.
This is a whole other episode, Joe. I would never go there in the written word. That's a bad job.
So I go, all right, I'm gonna stop this. And in the interim, I go to his website, and literally 4 of his 6 dudes are Bunn rejects.
Okay.
Like from 8 to 1 month ago.
Right.
Like 8 years ago to 1 month ago.
Okay.
Like just.
But all of them were, you fired them, and they. So he's not poaching.
Or I'm leaving to do my own thing, start a company, fail, and then go back to working for somebody like me or you.
So he's not poaching you. He's basically feeding off your crumbs, if you will.
Right. So then I kind of am like, all right, well, maybe it is a good model. You know, they're trained. But in this, now that I'm thinking about it, it's terrible. It's terrible. Maybe I'll leave this. No, I'm not going to leave it.
Come on. You're the one that brought it up.
At this point,
you got to tell this story.
I go, so then he throws out a couple other names, which is what prompted me to go to the website. He threw out a couple old school names, and I was like, he goes, what about so-and-so? And I'm like, so I go to the website, and I'm like, so I text, man, you're running Team Bunn Reject over there.
Oh, you put that in writing, Joe. Oh, see, that's something I might say verbally to somebody, because you could always deny it later.
Right, I know.
But you put that shit in writing.
Right. So then I knew so I know I've gone too far. So I call, and I'm like, yo, man, this is getting out of hand. Let's squash it. I go, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if somebody came to me from you, I would call you. And he goes, well, you don't need to expect the same from me.
Okay.
Now, you need to change your expectations from me or something like that. And I go, okay. Now I know where me and you stand.
Right.
So I guess it's just a really long story, but at the end of the day, he's right. I needed to change my expectations. That's what me as a business owner, I would do, is I would call or send an email to a company owner and be like, hey, think about interviewing this guy or girl. Did they leave, again, did they steal from you? Did they, offend someone? Did they, whatever? Or was it just didn't work out?
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, listen, I think there's nothing unethical about what this gentleman has done.
I mean,
especially since they no longer work for you.
No.
And some people would even say there's nothing unethical about poaching. You know, I have very strong vibes about that. It's not my thing. I've written about it in my book, and I talk about it at some seminars. But I mean, there's a whole industry called headhunting where, you know, basically these headhunters look for, you know, they go to a company and they say, oh, what do you need? Oh, you need a good IT guy? I'm going to go, you know, look for a good IT guy who already has a job, who's working, and basically connect the dots, and you make him an offer and he'll leave his company. So they're, you know, I mean, it's not against the law. And some people would argue it's not even unethical. I mean, why not look around and you see somebody talented, make them a better offer? Which is one of the reasons why if you have a multi-op, you better treat your people well, because you better know that other companies are whining and dining some of your more talented DJs from time to time and making them offers. So, you know, you can't sit back and be secure.
Case in point.
But I think at the end of the day, we all have to run our businesses with our own conscience.
You're right.
We all have to put our head on the pillow at night, and we all have to be able to sleep. And if you can sleep by, you know, if your conscience is clear by not calling business owner A when you're interviewing one of his ex-employees, then fine. Again, I don't think, you know, there's certainly much more unethical stories I've heard, and I understand why this got under your skin. My question to you is, if this guy has success with these guys, will you rethink your criteria or your standard or whatever? I mean, if he turns some of these guys into, let's face it, local superstars, will you sit there and say, hey, maybe I need to do a better job of reading talent and whatever? And I'm not saying you don't have those abilities,
no, because I mean, if I looked at any of those guys again, man, I mean, you know, they were all of that. I think that you hire people sometimes, and you hire somebody like Randy that's been here 16 years. He's not an entrepreneur, doesn't want to take the risk, doesn't want to start DJ Randy's DJ service in Raleigh, North Carolina, doesn't want to move and start his own thing, makes a shit ton of money working here. You know, gets tons of requests for him, tons of reviews. He's happy, you know, I think he's happy. And, you know, I try and keep him happy. And again, going back to your points, literally point number one when I'm talking about hiring DJs is keep them happy, you know, so they want to stay with you. What was the question again, Mike? I'm sorry. I just.
So my question is, if this guy is able to turn some of these quote unquote Bunn rejects into not just soldiers, but actual superstars in your market.
These guys were legitimate players working for me and did multiple shows a year, you know, and they were moving from like middle of the roster towards the top quickly. And then again, all approached me and said, I'm doing my own thing, or either got busted handing out their own card or something like that.
Okay.
These were not like the very last guy that I just spoke about.
Let me ask you this. Do you know this guy's business model? I know you and I both expect exclusivity from our staff. Does this guy not? Is he one of the guys who accepts subcontractors and he allows his people to do work outside?
I don't know him well enough, but I know for a fact that there's a guy on there that, you know, works also for my buddy that has a market down at the beach. So
maybe this guy has a little bit more of a fluid system where he's like, hey, man, you want to go do your own gigs? That's fine. Do some of mine, do some work for another DJ company. Again, that's against my business model. I don't believe in it. And I preach, you know, exclusivity. Loyalty. But I mean, there are some people that don't really care about that. And so for him, these DJs might be better fit because maybe he, you know, feels less of an obligation to get them a bunch of work. He can book them from time to time and basically say they're on his roster when really they might do a handful of gigs a year for him.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Don't know him well enough. Don't care at this point.
All right. So you have made that phone call, reversing the scenario. You have made that phone call in the past. Yeah. In the past. And how is it usually met?
I think it had been, the guy had not been there in quite a while. And the owner was like, he said he was better than he was or something. Again, this was like 2014. Have you ever heard anything that scared you away from hiring somebody? No.
Okay. So what if you did? I mean, like if somebody said, "Yeah, man, he stole from me," or "Yeah, he no-showed on a gig," would you believe that, or would you feel like, "Oh man, this guy's just throwing shade, so I don't hire him"?
Man, I think it would have to be, you know, one more conversation with the candidate. You know what I mean?
Okay.
After the phone call, and be like, well, you know, can you tell me a little bit more about your history there? I'm a little nervous, you know, whether you had to admit or not that you called them, just, you know, to see if they maybe divulge, listen, you know, my wife went into premature labor or whatever. Like, maybe you could get the whole backstory.
See, my advice would be to be upfront. If you're going to make that phone call, you should tell the guy you're going to make that phone call. Hey, just so you know.
Right.
And because his reaction to that might tell you an awful lot. Like if he's like, "Ooh, well, you know, maybe not," or if he's like, "Hey, don't believe a word that guy says. You know, he and I had a real big falling out, and he treated me like crap, and blah blah blah." So I would be upfront. If I'm, you know, before I even had that interview, I'd say, "Okay, great. Well, I'm going to call so and so and just, you know, confirm your history with him and everything else before you and I sit down." And I think his reaction to that can be very telling.
I think you're right, man. Again, I think I've always been really, and I spoke about this in that DVD that I was shooting,
second one slide
available mobile Las Vegas
at JoeBunn.com.
is you know, just blatant honesty during the interview process. So you're right. I mean, you know, why wouldn't you say if he had come from somewhere else? I think what I've been really fortunate in, Mike, is that Raleigh is one of those cities, you know, and I've talked about this before, is that you open any major magazine and they publish these top, you know, 20 places to live or move in the country. We're always in the top 10. So I get so much talent, you know, that's coming down here because their wife got transferred to Lenovo or something, and he came with her. And he had a mobile thing there, or he was working for somebody there. That it's pretty rare that I've run into that situation where somebody is coming from somewhere else. And I think that the majority of the guys...
So usually that somewhere else is out of your market.
Oh, it's your way. Yeah, they're coming from Philly or New York or New Jersey.
And so would you pick up the phone and call that guy?
You know what, man? Yeah, I probably would.
You should. I mean, why not?
I mean, I should. It's
I mean, everybody who knows me knows Corey Fox moved down to Miami, and now I basically facilitated, you know, the company that he was going to move. I knew a guy down there. I don't know why I'm being evasive. I knew Jeff Green. He owns a great company down there. Jeff, I connected the dots. But if Corey was just going to move down there and try to look for companies and interview on his own, I would have expected somebody to call me and say, "Hey, man, you know, one of your guys is moving down here. Can you tell me about it?" And I would have said, "I think you're getting an unbelievably like
the most polished
put down the
entertainer.
Phone, drop to your knees, and thank God that he's
he just rolled into your market."
Right, exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, I would expect that phone call, and I'd be happy to talk to a guy like that. I'd be happy to share my experience.
I think with me, I definitely there was a guy, Scotty Styles, that's working for me now. He and Big Daddy know each other real well, I think he was working for himself though. So a lot of people are coming from that single lot.
So then you have really nobody to call.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of going off their past reviews. And again, man, I mean, a lot of it's got to do, and I think you and I have gotten good over the 20, 30 years of doing this, at sitting down in the face-to-face interview and really getting to the bottom of,
you know what always surprises me in that scenario is one of the questions I will always ask is, do you have video footage of yourself? Either raw footage or a demo. And it shocks me how many people don't. Like, it really surprises me. And I think you might be in that scenario too, right? You don't use a lot of demo footage or raw footage. Your sales is more of just connecting person to person. But I mean, in my business model, the very first thing I want to do when I've got a new headliner going, and I talk about this extensively, by the way, plug our workshop. Go ahead. I talk about this extensively of strategies of how to do this, is to get a demo video of your DJ. So when I meet a guy who says, you know, I've been DJing 15 years and I'm moving into this market and I'm interested in working for you, and I go, great, can I see some video footage? And they're like, nah, I don't have any. I'm like, wow, how did you get this far in your career? But it's a different business model.
It is.
You know,
it totally is.
Yeah.
Well, man, anyway, great topics. We got about 10 minutes, Mike, and just Number one, are you going to try, and again, forgive my geography of the Northeast, are you going to try and make this thing in Albany?
I was going to try next week. I apologize, but I have to. I know it's a weird excuse, but my mother-in-law is flying very early the next morning, and I told her I would drive her to the airport. So, I got to pick her up at 6 a.m. to get to the airport. So I cannot wake up in Albany the night before and make that. Hey! Oh, for those of you who are listening audio-wise, that reaction was Kelly just popped in with our latest. That's Nuala.
What the heck is that little satchel? That's awesome.
That's her little carrying case. Yeah.
Oh, it's so fashionable. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, baby.
Yes, she's awesome. So anyway, quick kind of little.
So I wish I could. Next Monday night, I wish I could make it up.
I cannot. All good, man. I just wanted to ask.
And you're speaking to the Albany. Is it an ADJA chapter?
I think it is. I don't know that it's Albany. I think it's called something,
Yeah.
It's that region. But Big Daddy's picking me up at the airport, which is a bonus.
Right. Yeah.
So anybody listening, if you're going to be in the Albany-ish area, let me look at the date real quick. That'd be the 12th.
That'd be Monday night, the 12th.
Yeah, Monday, and I think it's pretty much open. So reach out to me. I can connect you with the people you need to sign up. But real quick, Mike, let's take the last 9-10 minutes here and look at the year in advance. And as DJs, I think that I know you and myself are good about this, especially as we've been doing this so long, at looking at specific weeks or even multiple weeks at a time like you did last summer and taking them off or deciding what things you're going to attend. So I just want to briefly touch on education. Other than Cater Source, which if you're a big NACE member, you may be going to in Las Vegas, the next big thing DJ-wise is Mobile Beat Las Vegas.
It's Mobile Beat, no doubt. And that's what, March 12th?
March 12th through the 15th.
12th through the 15th, and then we pick up right after that, PHDJ. And P.S., we are always plugging our workshop, but we should mention there are a number of workshops prior to and after Mobile Beat. So if you are a PHDJ graduate and you are looking for other educational opportunities, or you're just not interested in hanging with Joe and I and picking our brains, I think Randy Bartlett is doing. Is this his farewell? Is this his final?
It's the asshole tour.
No, I'm really going away. No. This is it. This is it.
I'm retiring.
This is my last one.
No, I'm retiring.
I'm serious. I'm retiring. I think Mark and Rebecca Farrell do one. So there are a number of other educational opportunities kind of tied into Mobile Beat.
Before or after.
We certainly hope you'll consider ours, especially if you've loved this podcast and you feel like you've gotten a lot out of it. But if you are going to Mobile Beat and making that trip, and you can tag some days before, some days after, we definitely recommend you attending one of those. Yes. Look into them, figure out which one you're going to get the most bang for your buck and attend something. Because really what that means is an extra day or two in Las Vegas. True. How bad is that?
True.
You know what I mean? That's the downside of it.
But you do go back with some actionable content, not only from Mobile Beat, the main show, but from one of these workshops. So then after that, Mike, I was just kind of looking. So you want to briefly touch on Midwest?
Well, I'm speaking at Midwest, which I've never spoken at. Mitch Taylor is bringing me in, and when I say Mitch, I don't mean him individually. I know he's got a great group of people who are putting this committee, if you will. But Mitch has really been my contact with that. So I apologize that I don't know everybody else who's organizing it. And it seems like a great group of speakers, and you told me it was a pretty good conference to speak at. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's April 29th through May 1st, guys.
I think it's late. Yeah. Is it April 29th? Does it start early? Okay. Yeah. You have it up. Yeah. And that's open. That's like a regional thing, but it's open to everybody, correct?
Oh, of course. Yeah. But I think, Mike, let's say there were 75 to 100 people there, I think. Everybody I met, everybody I talked to, we drove in from Chicago. Yeah, we drove in from so-and-so, Wisconsin. Like almost everybody there, had a car in the parking lot. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, Milwaukee is, you have probably 10,000 DJs within a 3-hour drive of that. Yeah. Now, how many are going to make the trip? Right. You know what I mean? But you have a lot of because the Chicago market is that close, and obviously there's a lot of DJs in Milwaukee and everything else. So,
and if I'm not mistaken, they moved it to a casino.
I think it's one of those
Native American.
Yeah.
Then it looks
very PC there, Joe.
Thank you.
American. Very
Thank
nice.
you. I think
indigenous people.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the other.
Even more PC. The July 30th looks like they're doing just one day this year.
Hold on. Are you skipping ARM? Are you? I'm not attending ARM,
bro.
But
I just texted Robbie, and he won't respond to me.
Really?
There's no website.
Oh wow. Okay. I thought ARM. I'm not speaking there.
I'm not either. But the end of last year, or the beginning of the conference last year, I was there. This is ARM DJs, guys. For those of you who don't know, Robbie Britton,
which happens in Tennessee.
And
it's always a great, again, a small regional, but everyone is there to share and learn and network, and the vibe at ARMS is always tremendous.
So the beginning of the conference let's say it's on a Monday was this is the last one, and then by Wednesday it was announced.
Well, he made his big announcement that it wasn't going to be the last one, and I thought the whole thing was that they were going to do one more year in Tennessee and then take it on the road. So things might have changed. Robbie might still be up in the air, but anyway, if you are interested in something in June, reach out to Robbie or keep your eye out for ARM DJs, because that's always, even though I'm not speaking at it this year, I always recommend it. It's been a great show for me in the past. And,
especially if you're within driving distance. That's a good one to drive to.
So go ahead. Now skip along to July.
July 30th. Wedding Wire World, it looks like they're just doing one day this year in D.C.
Is there a Wedding Wire World going on this week? Is the West Coast one?
L.A., I think. Yep.
Okay.
I saw that on social as well. And then
so Wedding Wire World is the end of July in DC.
Yep. And
then so it's not concurrent with DJ Expo.
Looks like
I'm glad they separated those.
They separated by 2 weeks. It looks like, and that's moving to Harrah's. It looked like. Did you see that on their website?
Yeah, I think so. And it's August 13th.
August
I think
13th through the 16th. Yeah.
I'm actually going to miss the Monday of that. Kelly's got a cousin who's getting married that Sunday night all the way out on Long Island. So and so we're going to the wedding and then staying over, and I probably won't roll into Atlantic City till sometime late Monday afternoon. So it's going to be weird for me. I'm actually missing a day of that, but I'll be in attendance the rest of the week.
And then wouldn't you say the next thing after that, Mike, Wedding MBA?
I would say so. I don't know if there's anything. Are we looking, or are we neglecting anything? Nothing I can think of. But Wedding MBA has been moved to November
5th through the 8th.
Yeah. And currently, I'm not scheduled to speak at that. I have spoken a couple years in a row.
Yeah.
But do I want to go into why? No, not really. Okay. But I'm just currently not scheduled to speak at that. Yeah.
Nor I.
There's another cliffhanger. Maybe I'll give you some truth serum. I'll open up next week about why I'm
a couple 10 beers. I think the last time I was there was like 3 or 4 years ago, and they gave me the topic, and it was called Girl. I can't even say it. It was called Girl, You Need Professional Help.
Joe Bunn is going to be talking about
that was the name of the freaking topic, and I opened with that.
Shannon is great for changing whatever you submit as a as a topic, a suggestion. She tweaks the title a little bit. So
it didn't go over well. Yeah. And then anyway, just kind of a few side notes. I saw Clock was down in New Orleans at the special event, which is kind of an Aliyah-based conference.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to that.
I know Jay Sims went to that too. I've never been to that, but I've heard it was extremely impressive.
Good.
Oh, I just saw somebody this weekend too. Chris Atwood from New Jersey said he was at that.
Yeah, I like Chris. Engage if you've got 4,000 to 5,000 to drop.
Brian Bonacisi raves about that.
You know what? We shouldn't even be talking about it because he wants to be the king of Engage.
He has attended it, but now he also has a platform there, right? Doesn't he spin?
I think so.
So I mean, he's worked his way up at that, where he's not simply an attendee, but he's involved, and he's got himself. Listen, Brian is just insane as far as that kind of networking stuff goes.
Yeah.
I literally tip my hat. By the way, did you notice I'm wearing my Shocky News?
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
You got to look really close to see the logo. Bad job, John. Black on black. What do you think?
He's very hip. NAMM just happened in
Anaheim. NAMM is usually January.
Yeah.
Anaheim. Yep.
You've been to that with John, right?
John brought me out a number of years ago.
Reporter kind of?
I went. Yes, I was doing reporting. I had a great cameraman with me all week, and we were going around to vendors. asking them about their products and stuff. It was fun. It was cool.
I think CES is soon.
My biggest problem with NAMM is I basically have to choose between NAMM and Mobile Beat.
Yeah.
So because I can't do two trips in the summer, in the winter time. So the year I did NAMM, I didn't go to Mobile Beat, and I love NAMM, but I'm definitely going to get more out of Mobile Beat.
Sure.
You know,
I think the Consumer Electronics Show is soon, but that's not really DJ related. Although I'm sure all the gear will be there. Yeah. But that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, again, please PHDJworkshop.com, check it out. Mike just said, texted me last night. He sent out an e-blast and picked up yet another attendee.
Yeah, we got another sign up yesterday. So there's still room, there's still space, there's still time. So if you haven't made your plans, your travel plans yet, Mobile Beat should be a definite. And then stick around for PHDJ Workshop, which will be the afternoon of the 15th and all day on the 16th.
And then if you haven't gotten enough plugs this episode, one last thing. Any of you guys that are listening, ADJA chapters, NACE members, ILEA members, any organization that's wedding or DJ based, Mike and I, honestly, we'd love to speak for your groups. I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of Mike, but we've got a variety of topics to speak on, and if you need a good speaker for your group that's actually going to not just stand up there and try and give a big rah-rah speech, but actually deliver some actionable content, he's your guy, or I'm your guy.
That guy. Right?
That guy right there. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Mike, wrap it up.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.